cocaine, heroin, crack cocaine, marijuana, and synthetic marijuana.
Just a sampling of the confiscated drugs taken off the streets in Kensington. Much of the investigation was centered on Allegheny Avenue near Weymouth Street. Over the course of 4 days, Philadelphia police got over 24,000 grams of drugs off the streets. These are mugshots of some of the suspected drug dealers who were arrested. Police say this time they were focused more on the drug dealer rather than the drug user. In addition to the drugs, police also seized almost $150,000 in cash and 21 guns, including assault rifles.
We look at every gun as a win from someone not getting shot. So these guns won't be used in future shootings, obviously. We look at that as a win. So for us, that's a significant part. The drugs, yes, it's an appreciable size, but we've recovered much more and will continue to do so.
Washington has flown spy planes over the peninsula on the eve of the holiday. 4 American surveillance jets were detected overnight by aviation tracker aircraft spots. The recon planes, were identified as the RC-135W and the E-8C. The former can detect signals before a missile is launched and analyze its trajectory, while the latter is capable of monitoring the North's key military facilities and the ground troop movements. The U.S. Air Force carried out such operations every day over the peninsula since December 19th, amid concerns the regime may conduct a Christmas nuclear test or a long-range missile launch.
Now, 2 days of national mourning have been declared in Burkina Faso after at least 35 civilians were shot dead during an attack. And according to the government, 80 armed men have also been killed. The attack was launched on an army base in Arbinda and a nearby town. Violence has increased in Burkina Faso after the military offensive began an offensive against armed groups in November. There's been no claim of responsibility so far for this latest attack.
We have
to think about solidarity and national cohesion. People, women for the most part, were getting water and got murdered in cold blood by the terrorists while they were retreating. We must show compassion with the population. That is why all flags will fly at half-mast for 2 days and all Christmas celebrations are cancelled.
For years, he was the chief of staff of the Algerian National Army. But Ahmed Gaid Saleh will mostly be remembered for being behind the resignation of President Abdelaziz Bouteflika after 2 decades in office. On March 26 this year, not long after hundreds of thousands of Algerians marched in the streets demanding the president step down, it was Gaid Saleh's speech urging Bouteflika to quit that made that a reality. The army backed the arrests of many of Bouteflika's allies. A month later, Saleh supported the newly appointed interim leader, Abdelkader Ben Saleh.
Performing a strike on tiptoe. On Tuesday afternoon, dancers and musicians took over the forecourt of the Opera Garnier for an improvised ballet. 15 minutes of Swan Lake. Their way of being heard after 2 weeks of conflict.
It's to show that we're against the pension reform, which the government wants to implement. But it's also a gesture towards spectators, because we as artists are very sorry for what is happening to hundreds of people who are deprived of seeing Christmas shows.
A captivating effort, appreciated by hundreds of gathered onlookers. The opera has 2,000 employees and a specialized pension scheme dating back to Louis XIV.
Now, thousands of people in the Philippines have been left stranded on the Christmas break as Typhoon Phanfone made landfall. Many in the predominantly Catholic nation were stuck in airports and bus terminals. Authorities have evacuated coastal areas fearing floods and landslides.
This holiday week could come with an unwanted and dangerous surprise: measles. Authorities say people infected with the highly contagious virus traveled through at least 5 airports in recent days and may have exposed others to the disease. Just the latest in a string of similar incidents this year, now happening at the busiest time to travel. An unidentified person visited the airport and several other locations around Austin, Texas, between December 14th and December 17th, including a restaurant, a grocery store, and a Target.
That individual became ill on December the 14th and developed a rash on December the 17th. On that same day, December 17th, he boarded a flight from Austin to Chicago, United Flight 790, with a connecting flight to Virginia.
Health officials are working to inform people who may have been exposed.
The landmark Cathedral of Paris, still a skeleton of its former self. The work underway now focuses on stabilizing Notre Dame and preventing its collapse. The fire that ravaged the church's roof and spire broke out on April 15th. Tons of poisonous lead melted during the blaze. That spells health hazards and good reason to delay holding Christmas festivities inside. Notre Dame has held a Christmas Mass every year since 1803, even during the horror of World War II. The last interruptions to the Mass came amid the anti-Catholic fervor of the French Revolution. This year, worshippers are being sent to nearby sites for Mass, including the Church of Saint-Sulpice.
Imagine being a criminal in London. You have CCTV, number plate detectors, police patrols and more to keep the peace. If you need to escape the police, it might not be the easiest thing to do. But one thing might be working in criminals' favour. Increasingly, police forces are adopting the use of electric cars, and that means they may not be able to keep up.
Vehicles that are less damaging to the environment are struggling to cope with the arduous needs of emergency service. Autonomous driving and safety systems are not conducive to pursuit or response driving.
And even if the electric police cars could keep up, they might not last very long, because the batteries they use would soon run out.
Plug-in electric cars do not have adequate range and they take too long to charge up, which is a significant challenge.